With the recent case involving Gabby Petito, whose body was found in Wyoming after days of searching earlier this month, more attention has been brought to missing persons investigations. And believe it or not, there are still tons of stories of tourists who have disappeared in recent years, only to never be found again. With more on some of these mysterious cases, we've put together the following video. Number 1, the mysterious tourist deaths in Panama. What happened on that hike? 2 Dutch tourists, Chris Lemers, 21, and Lisanne Froon, 22, disappeared while out on a hike in Panama in April 2004. However, despite countless search teams, which included dogs and helicopters, there were no signs of the women for weeks. Months later, some of their remains were found in the Panama countryside, which was confirmed by DNA tests. Local authorities said their death was a result of a hiking accident, but not everyone's convinced, according to a report from the Daily Beast. Apparently, 9 weeks after their disappearance, one of their backpacks was brought to location authorities. It contained 2 bras, 2 smartphones, 2 pairs of sunglasses, a water bottle, Froon's passport, some cash, and most importantly, Froon's camera, which had photos on it after their estimated time of death. The backpack was also found alongside bone fragments, some of which were believed to have belonged to the 2 women, and others that possibly belonged to 3 other people as well. Next up, 9 Russian hikers who disappeared at the Dyatlov Pass, not once, but twice. In February 2021, a group of tourists vanished without a trace at the infamous Dyatlov Pass, the same stretch of Russia's Ural Mountains where 9 hikers mysteriously died in February 1959. The injuries of the original 9 were so bizarre that investigators and amateur sleuths alike have attributed their deaths to everything from aliens to the Yeti. And just a few months ago, more than 60 years after the fact, the Dyatlov Pass was once again at the center of a disturbing mystery. The recently missing tourists, largely from Moscow, learned of the strange circumstances surrounding the Dyatlov Pass incident and set out to see the area themselves, not just in search of the true mystery, but also to pay respects to the fallen hikers. However, they were supposed to return from their outing on February 10th, 2021, but failed to check in. Reportedly, they have not returned yet and there is no contact with them, a local Russian media source said on the day they were due to return. The confusion and panic over the missing hikers was only heightened by the fact that they reportedly failed to officially register their movements in the area with the proper authorities. According to the Ministry of Emergency Situations in the Sverdlovsk region, there were only 3 registered groups in the Dyatlov Pass area at the time, leaving the missing group unaccounted for. However, a day after the reports surfaced, a correspondent from one Russian media outlet stated that the group had been tracked down and safely made their exit from the area. Reportedly, they had encountered difficulties largely due to severe weather that delayed their check-in and set off the panic. That being said, these reports are somewhat limited and unproven, with most people still believing the case to be a full-on mystery, though still not nearly as big as a mystery that had happened to the original victims from 60 years ago, to which there have been countless conspiracies. What happened to this family in Death Valley? The Death Valley Germans, as dubbed by the media, were a family of 4 tourists from Germany who went missing in Death Valley National Park in the United States. The family consisted of the father, Egbert Rimkus, 34, his son, George Weber, 11, Rimkus's girlfriend, Cornelia Meyer, 27, and her son, Max Meyer, 4, all from Dresden, Germany. They had booked a flight from Los Angeles to return to Germany on July 27, 1996. There was no evidence that they boarded the flight or departed the United States. Rimkus's ex-girlfriend became concerned when her ex-husband and son did not return from their vacation. She began to inquire about their whereabouts. However, the family's rental minivan was discovered months later by complete accident in an extremely remote part of the park known as Anvil Canyon. On October 21, 1996, a Death Valley National Park ranger aboard a helicopter conducted a routine aerial surveillance mission looking for illegal drug manufacturing labs, at which point subsequent inspections made headway and 3 of the 4 tires were found to be flat, with the wheels severely damaged from driving over rocky terrain for over 2 miles. The van had been reported stolen by the rental company and was determined to be the one rented to the tourists. A brand new Coleman sleeping bag tent, numerous toys, and an unused tire jack were all found inside the van. Over 200 search and rescue workers performed an extensive search of the area near the minivan, but the groups failed to yield any clues to the whereabouts of the family, with the exception of a single beer bottle that was discovered under a bush over 1 mile away from the stranded vehicle, and the ledge next to the beer bottle had been cleared with a seat mark indicating that one of the tourists had used it for shade, presumably Egbert, the father, due to the size misses the mark. However, following an intense search and rescue operation, no trace of the family was discovered, and the search was eventually called off. It wasn't until 2009 when two hikers, who were off-duty search and rescue personnel looking for traces of the family, discovered the skeletal remains of two adults, one male and one female. Even though the two bodies are widely believed to have belonged to Rimkus and Cornelia, the remains of the children were never officially discovered. And finally, Tom and Eileen Lonergan had their crew completely abandon them. On January 25, 1998, Tom and Eileen Lonergan, a married American couple, left Port Douglas, Australia by boat with a group. They were off to dive St. Crispin's Reef, a popular dive site at the Great Barrier Reef, but something was about to go terribly wrong. From Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Tom Lonergan was 33 and Eileen was 28, both avid divers, with the couple being described as young, idealistic, and in love with each other. They met at Louisiana State University, which is also where they got married. But on that day in late January, Tom and Eileen were on their way home from Fiji, where they had been serving in the Peace Corps for a year. They stopped in Queensland, Australia on the way for the chance to dive the world's largest coral reef system. Through the diving company Outer Edge, 26 passengers boarded the scuba boat, set out to their destination 25 miles off the coast of Queensland. After arriving, the passengers put on their diving gear and jumped into the Coral Sea, which was the last time anybody ever saw Tom and Eileen Lonergan again. After a couple extended diving sessions of about 40 minutes, the couple finally broke the surface, only to see clear blue skies, blue water, and nothing else. No boat in front or behind. Their crew had completely abandoned them. Good news is that leaving divers behind happens very rarely, but in this case, the amount of time it took for someone to recognize that Tom and Eileen weren't returning took far too long. Eerily, the day after the incident, another dive group taken to the area by Outer Edge found dive weights at the bottom, but the discovery was simply described by a crew member as a bonus find. 2 days passed before anyone realized that the Lonergans were missing, and it was only realized when Nairn found a bag aboard containing their personal belongings and passports. At which point a massive search was underway, with both air and sea rescue teams spending the next 3 days looking for the missing couple. Rescue members found some of Lonergan's diving gear washed up ashore, which included a dive slate and an accessory used for making notes underwater. Reportedly, the dive slate read, "To anyone who can help us, we have been abandoned on Agincourt Reef, 25 January 1998, 3 p.m. Please help us, come rescue us before we die. Help." But Tom and Eileen Lonergan's bodies were never found. Like most other unsolved cases, chilling theories arose in the aftermath, not the least of which included people claiming it was a matter of negligence on the part of the company and captain, as well as others citing something more sinister lurking beneath the surface of the seemingly do-gooder couple. There was also some speculation that they staged it, or that perhaps it was a suicide or even a murder-suicide, especially since Tom and Eileen's diaries had disturbing entries that added fuel to the fire. Tom seemed depressed, and Eileen's own writing was concerned with Tom's apparent death wish, writing 2 weeks before their trip that he wished to die a quick and peaceful death. Also that Tom's not suicidal, but he's got a death wish that could lead him to what he desires, and I could get caught in that. Their parents disputed this suspicion and said the entries were taken out of context, with the general consensus being that the couple was left dehydrated and disorientated, which led to either drowning or being eaten by sharks. Nothing further has been revealed to this day, but in 2003, the film Open Water was released, which is based on the tragic events of the couple's last dive. And with that, it wraps up the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment below on how we did, what you'd like to see in our next video. And as always, thanks for watching.